Boethiah is complicated, and stories about her are still coming out, like brand new ones. Like 2024, the Gold Road expansion for Boethiah. There's some new lore books that have been added, and I realized one of the stories that I found really interesting about Boethiah actually came from one of these lore books. They're called the Blade Songs of Boethiah. I forget who wrote them, but I gotta give that guy credit. It's very good. It's very interesting. It's kind of like retroactive storytelling-ish. Like how this one took place in the Middle Dawn, talking about what happened to the Middle Dawn. It's an old piece of work in universe, but it's new out of universe. 2024 wrote it. And in universe, it's a piece of lore for the Khajiit, the Khajiiti piece of lore that was written before the Riddlethar purged all of the old lore. So, like saying, we go through the older games, we have the Khajiit lore there. That's the old stuff, though. That's the new stuff. Like, the old stuff is the new stuff. And all this stuff came out after the Riddlethar came in and did some organization and purging all the old stuff. And now some of that old stuff, which is new stuff out of universe, is resurfacing. And we learn about some of the old stuff, which is new stuff. And this is one of the old stuff that's new stuff. And the story about how Boethiah learned about the Middle Dawn and was very an important piece of fixing the Dragon Break, the Middle Dawn Dragon Break. How she was the one who went to the tower the Marukati selectives were dancing on, trying to do stuff, and she realized that the Marukati selectives were trying to make a lie into reality, make a lie into truth. They were trying to change an Aedra, and she realized this would kind of break things a little bit too much, break things a little bit way too much. And she, Boethiah holds no love for the Aedra, she doesn't, but she does hold love for Lorkhan's world, which by contrast means that we kind of need the Aedra to have Lorkhan's world because she loves Lorkhan. And so she has to stop this to keep reality from breaking and all that stuff. So she goes in there and she goes into this realm, this like realm of concept, weird place where she beholds like 9 wheels, and then she sees 2 serpents that are fighting each other. One serpent is this big, shiny, crystal-like dragon. This crystal dragon serpent is, from its mouth, is spewing anti-man stuff, anti-man rhetoric. It's hating mankind from past, present, and all that stuff. It's a very Ariel type of thing. And then from the other serpent, Boethiah senses something familiar from this serpent. It's from its mouth is spewing all sorts of darkness and void space. And Boethiah lands on this serpent, and she places her hand on this serpent's brow, and she senses something familiar. And so she puts on the shroud of Lorkhan's death shroud, which is basically her ebony stuff, ebony mail, and all of that stuff. She puts that on, and she attacks the other serpent, the crystal serpent. She attacks it. And by theoretically slaying this serpent, the Dragon Break ends. And time is fixed itself. This is an example of some really great writing, really great addition to the lore. And it really adds to the complex nature of what Boethiah is. It makes her sympathetic in a way, but we also understand who she is. Boethiah is very much on Lorkhan's side. Like, she loves this guy. Her sphere is very much mimicking a lot of the aspects that Lorkhan was all about. Change, plots, and all that other good stuff, right? And Boethiah is all about doing that. And one of the major things that Boethiah did with the Chimer, the Valathi stuff, she came in and taught them about Lorkhan's test. She came in and led the Chimer to Morrowind, probably to protect Lorkhan's heart, because she predicted that the Dwemer were going to do some stuff with it. She probably she taught them about the Scarab, and the Scarab is Lorcan. That's what he's viewed as in there. I'm going to try to find the exact phrase here. It's in the sermons of Vivek. There's so much stuff in the sermons. Vivek says unto the Hortator, remember the words of Boethiah. We pledge ourselves to you, the frame maker, the Scarab, a world for us to love you in, a cloak of dirt to cherish, betrayed by your ancestors when you were not looking. This is Sermon 10 of the 36 lessons, and it's one of my favorite sermons. And there's so many. There's like 37, even though it says 36, the 37th was added in ESO, which might theoretically just be a meta thing for an ad for Coda, but you can read that however you will. There's a lot of meta stuff in the original 36 lessons to begin with. But this one, the frame maker, the Scarab, a world for us to love you in, all of that stuff, that's basically all Lorcan. Lorcan created the mortal realm, the mortal plane. It's his place. He's the frame maker, and they view him as the Scarab. So that's, and Vivek's saying these are Boethiah's words, that these came from Boethiah. And she also told the Chimer of Lorcan's test, which is the Psijic Endeavor, which is not to be confused with the Psijic Order. They're two very different things. The Psijic Order is kind of different. Like Boethia is not very fond of the Psijic Order. The Psijic Endeavor is more of what Vivek did. What Vivek did is very much doing exactly what Boethia was teaching the Chimer, or teaching through Veloth and all that stuff, is that the test for the mortal plane is to rise, to seek power, to rise above mortality. Immortality is something that you need to seize. It is something that you need to claim. It's not going to be given to you if you just sit around and wallow in your despair and cry, like Ariel and Trinamac are telling the Altimer to do, and they're just sitting in Somerset wallowing in their own self-pity and self-hatred for being mortals now. Immortality's not going to come back to those guys just because they're doing that. It's not. And Boethia says if you want immortality, you have to seize it. You have to take it. You have to seize the power for yourself. Do not just venerate and bow and substrate yourself to me. I don't want you to do this. I want you to go out there. I want you to take the power. I want you to seize the power. That is the Psijic Endeavor. And then the goal of the Psijic Endeavor is to ascend beyond the cycle of mortality. Because the Dunmer believe that when you die, you go into the sleep space. And from there, you just await the next cycle, the next turn into the next... and the Nords also have a concept of this called the Kalpas, the Kalpic cycles. So you add the Kalpic cycles and all this stuff. So you go into the sleep space, the next Kalpa starts, time resets, and you come back. Maybe not in the exact same spot, maybe not in the exact same era, maybe not even as the exact same race, maybe. But you're going to come back. It's a very reincarnation type of theory. It's a very reincarnation type of aspect. And if you want to escape this, if you want to escape the Orbic wheel and all the wheel of time, as it is, if you will, you have to rise, you have to ascend, you have to do that Psijic order. You gotta get that Kim, man, you gotta get that Kim. And Vivek is a great example of this, as he took the Kim, he took the power, he stole the secrets. And he had to stomp on a lot of people to get this, which is admittedly inevitable, apparently. As he says in the sermons, violence sees the secrets through violence and all the other stuff. Sometimes you gotta be violent. Sometimes you gotta step on a few heads to reach the top of the tower. You have to jump on a few people to get up there, you know. But maybe next time those people will jump on a few other people to get there behind you. In the next cycle, the next person will get Kim, and then the next person will get Kim, and then the next person, and the next person. And pretty soon, after enough time and enough cycles, you'll have hundreds, thousands, millions of people with Kim. All of the people will have attained the Sijic endeavor and have escaped the boundaries of time, the boundaries of the cycles of time. And that is Lorcan's test. That is what Boethiah wanted for you. And so you might view her methods as harsh. You might view her methods as vile, evil. And honestly, I get it. From a mortal's perspective, this isn't exactly fun. You know, dying isn't fun from a mortal's perspective. You know, it's like nobody wants to die. But dying, you're sitting there, you're dead, and you want to live a life free of pain, free of danger. But this is just going to let you just wallow in perpetual existence, which is something that Boethiah despises, because you're not trying to escape the orbic circle. You're not trying to escape the infinite circle of time and Calvix and all that stuff. You're just going to just sit here and be imprisoned as part of this stuff. You're no better than the Alter who are wallowing in self-pity. At least in your case, you're not pitying yourself, but you're also not trying to rise. It's all about the fittest survive, the fittest escape, the fittest will get out. And so Boethiah will always scowl at the people who aren't trying to live their best life, be the best their person, walk the path, so as to say. And that's something that I really gotta give credit to Boethiah and the recent writers for this stuff, man. They really overhauled the Khajiit religion with Boethiah. They really overhauled that, and I respect that, I do, because Boethiah needed some extra stuff added in. And at least in this case, this kind of fits with her a lot more, and it falls in line to previous versions of her. It's like we didn't know as much about her, but this makes sense for her actions, and even all of this new stuff, the old stuff, they kind of blend properly together. It's not like saying, oh, she would never do that. No, she probably could do that if she was also in love with Lorcan and all that stuff, and this makes sense. The three good Daeja are often depicted as being allies to Lorcan in this way. The Mephala, Boethiah, Azura allied with Lorcan in some way, shape, or form. And in the Khajiit myth, it makes it a little bit clear from Azura's perspective, because normally we understand Mephala and Boethiah's perspective as being allied with Lorcan. They're the ones who taught the Sijic endeavor to the Chimer. But Azura's role in all this was kind of confusing. So this new lore that got added in with the Khajiit stuff, the pre-Riddlethar stuff, is helping out by reconciling Azura's role of saying, yeah, she was also part of this stuff. She was also doing this stuff. She was also sympathetic to Lorcan and all of that stuff. So I do like some of this new stuff. Although, admittedly, like I said with my Athelia video, the lore, the new stuff, is sometimes hit, sometimes miss. When you're trying to add something that retroactively works with something old, for example, one of the writers that I think does this really well was Toriyama with Dragon Ball. One of the great examples is in the very first arc of Dragon Ball, the Pilaf Saga, Goku has a tail, right? And he turns into a giant ape at the side of the full moon. It's never really explained. It's just he's just a weird kid. That's just what happens. And then by the Saiyan Saga, we learn that it's an anatomical trait of all Saiyans that they have tails and they turn into giant apes at the side of the moon. Raditz explains this to Goku, and everybody's shocked, but it makes perfect sense seamlessly, retroactively. It doesn't even fill in a plot hole. It's just adding to old lore. And with Athelia, you kind of could have fixed this a little bit by reconciling the Dragon Breaks just a little bit. The Dragon Breaks and the multiverse kind of would work perfectly here. In, for example, the Warp in the West and the multiple endings bit, the idea that they wanted to canonize all of Daggerfall's endings and to say all of these things happened at the same time. Why not say that dragon breaks are with the multiverse, multiple timelines, and all of that stuff, where every different idea, action has occurred. A dragon break is a moment in time that is the same moment in time in every timeline, in every version of the multiverse. They're all experiencing the dragon break at once. So the dragon break breaks at the same moment. So the warp in the West and Daggerfall, that happened in another timeline. Every other timeline, this dragon break happened. And then after that dragon break happened, everything that happened in that dragon break is canon in every single timeline. Every single event that happened in that dragon break happened in every single timeline. And that could be reconciled, you know. You could have used the many paths with Athalia and all of that stuff to explain a little bit more about those things and try to make sense of the dragon breaks a little bit. And try to say that these dragon breaks are events that happen in every single timeline because the many paths, every door is open or something, and every action that is taking place during this moment happens in every single door, in every single reality. That could have been a cool idea, a cool concept at least. I would have liked that. Memories getting muddied over, you start remembering your alternate self's memories, maybe, because every self is merged into a single self or whatever during a dragon break. Who knows? Who knows what's happening? But I would have found that to be very interesting myself. And I find Boethiah's actions during a lot of these things, especially the Middle Dawn, to be one of the most fascinating aspects of her character. And I do love that she has a love for Lorcan. I do like that. And I do like that it makes her a little bit more sympathetic, a little bit more understanding. And she's tough on mortals. She's very tough on them because you're mortals. You're good. You're going to die. You're going to come back. You're going to die again. You're going to come back. And if you do not rise, if you do not ascend, if you don't do what Vivek did, it's just going to keep happening to you. And she takes pity on you, and she wants you to escape that. And she's not going to make it easy for you, because it's not easy to do. It wasn't easy for Vivek to do. So she wants you to do and follow in the footsteps of Vivek and achieve Kim and get out of the Lorcan's world, because it's a test. It's all about a test. It's all a plot. It's a big, big plot. You know, she's the prince of plots and all that stuff. So I like that about her, and I just thought I want to talk about that, some of that new stuff that came out recently, very recently. So, yeah, I like a lot of the new stuff. The only thing I don't like is that ESO is online. ESO is a multiplayer thing. ESO is an MMO. It's like, I like Elder Scrolls. I love what they're doing. I love that they're exploring the world. Because right now, if you don't count Arena and Daggerfall, then ESO is the only place where you can visit a high-definition rendering of High Rock, Hammerfell, Somerset Isles, elsewhere, the mainland of Morrowind, and the Black Marsh. You could visit parts of Black Marsh. All these parts of Tamriel are opening up to the players to explore, to learn about, and lore is being written by people to explain these lands, to explain these cultures as you're visiting them, and it's all being done in ESO, because they're not being done in these main games, because we haven't gotten another title! It's been almost 15 years since Skyrim first announced. Skyrim came out in 11/11/11, right? 2011, November 11th. And it's almost been 15 years. By 2026, November 11th, it will have been 15 years. So technically, it's only been 13 years and some change. It's almost been 14 years. But who's counting, right? If you consider that if this is the 14th year, if you subtract 14 years from add 14 years from 1994, because 1994 was the year that Arena launched. Add 14 years to that, and we get like 2009-ish. And by that point, everything up to Oblivion had been announced, had been released. That's 4 mainline Elder Scrolls titles, 2 spin-offs, a bunch of lore. The bulk of it, the big lion's share of the lore, was written in that time period. And it's like, what has happened in the past 14 years? Well, we got a re-release of Skyrim. We got a bunch of other re-releases. We got a remaster, remake-ish of Oblivion. We had a couple mobile games that were failures because it's mobile. It's immediately a failure if it's mobile. If it's not out on a console or the PC is an actual title, it's a failure. And we haven't gotten... we had ESO. It's been around for 10 years now. It's surprising. I'm actually very impressed with that. And I don't want to take anything away from that. I don't want to hate on ESO. I want to say that that's a pretty good thing that they got going on. Because me not liking multiplayer, that's subjective. What ESO is doing is a really good idea. It's sustainable. It's keeping itself around. Each new year they're adding new things. They just need to tighten that lore a little bit. Tighten it up a little bit so that they don't make it messy like Athalia was. You gotta clean it up a little bit. Add some more lore books to clean it up a little bit. Maybe that'll fix it. I like what they're doing. I like that they're expanding the world. I just wish we could expand the world in these titles, in newer titles. Because, if I'm going to be honest with you, I think we should have had ES6 by 2017. And I think we should have had ES7 by 2022 to 2023. Yes, I think that we should have had at least those two titles by then. We should have had those two titles. We should have had them. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. ESO is a good idea, but it's just one studio working on it. The studios that worked on these are not working on it. Alright? It's a different studio working on ESO. So the studios that were working on this, what are they doing? Did they make Starfield? Is that what they were all doing? They spent the last 10 years making Starfield? You're a big enough company that you could have a team working on Fallout IP. You can have a team working on the next ESO title. And you can have the team working on ESO. So, you should have two teams. One team working on Fallout, one team working on the next Elder Scrolls, and one team to keep ESO working. That's just what I do. That's just me. It's just what I do, so that I could keep it constantly rolling out. Maybe every 2 years you get a new Fallout title, another 2 years you get an an Elder Scrolls title, another 2 years another Fallout title. That way you got 4-year development cycles for each game. It's a good thing, you know. I think that would be a good idea. You know, it's just me. It's just me. Yeah, it's just me. And that's just the final rant. It's inevitable to talk like that. I had to praise ESO, but then I also had to rant about Bethesda. It's just inevitable for me to do both. It's just inevitable. This is the Boethiah video. I think this makes 8, maybe 9 Elder Scrolls lore videos. I may make 2 more. I may make more than 2. If these videos get a lot of views, if these videos get a lot of people talking about them, wanting to see more, suggest topics to me that I find interesting, and I may talk about them, I may not. I cannot guarantee anything. But after these next 2, we may do more, I may not. But I do plan to do at least 1 to 2 more. So that's it. That's Boethiah.